Hey everyone, we will give about 3 minutes just to get everybody on here and then we'll get rolling. All right. Um, so as far as this training, this is going to be specified more on the first time that you meet the client. Um, but this will be when you meet with them for the first time and how I want you to go about that conversation. So, when you are setting up these appointments, again, we're going to backtrack a little bit. I want you to make sure that you get a verbal confirmation from them or do not show the property, right? So it's called a takeaway. So in like sales, essentially, if you get with someone, right, and they're not essentially doing what you need them to do, then you do a takeaway, right? So if you reach out to someone and they don't respond to you whatsoever, um, the first thing I want you to do is call them once the appointment is confirmed, right? So we're going to call them. They don't answer, send them a text. Hey, so and so, I just tried to call you. I've got us confirmed for today at 1 p.m. or tomorrow at 3 or whatever, right? I need a verbal confirmation from you that you're going to be there. So please call me back. If they don't respond, give it a little bit of time. If you've got plenty of time, give it an hour. If you don't have plenty of time, maybe give it 30 minutes, right? At that point in time, I want you to go back and message them again. Hey, so and so, again, I need a verbal confirmation from you, or I will not be showing you the property today, right? So do that takeaway, because if you don't do that, you may be wasting your time going to meet a client that's not going to show up. Does everybody understand that? Does anybody have any questions surrounding that? Okay. So essentially, um, once you've got the confirmation from them that they're going to be there, I would like for you to try to get there a couple minutes early, if at all possible. Okay. The reason why I like to get there a little bit early is I want to get in the house and I want to walk through it preemptively before they get there so that I can see the layout of the house, because it helps me when I'm touring the property if I already know how it's kind of laid out. So if you can get there early, great. Go ahead, get the door unlocked, get in, do a quick run through real quick if you can, turn some lights on, check the layout. If there's anything that you see that stands out to you, go ahead and take a mental note of that so that you can ensure that you point that out to the potential buyer. Okay. Um, When they get there, obviously you want to introduce yourself, right? Hey, so-and-so, I'm Matt. Very nice to finally put a name with a face or a face to a voice or whatever, right? Like, be super energetic, high energy, act like you're there, excited to see them. Okay. If you sound like you have had a crappy day and they're doing you a disservice by meeting them there, it's going to be a very awkward showing and a very awkward, 10 minutes or however long it takes, right? So more than likely, they're going to find someone else that wants to meet with them if you have a piss poor attitude. Does everybody understand that? Okay, perfect. Positivity is the best thing you can have, right? If you act like a Disney employee, right? When you meet them, the happiest place on earth, they're going to want to reciprocate that, right? Because positivity, energy matches energy. So be super high energy and act like you want to be there. What I try to do is point out the major threes that are going to get nitpicked by insurance companies right now. Those major threes are roof, water heater, and AC unit. Okay. So the major three big ticket items right now that insurance is going to look at on any 4-point, unless it's a brand new construction house, there wouldn't be a 4-point, is going to be roof, AC, and water heater. If you guys need to write this down, go ahead and write it down because I'm about to give you some good information that you need to know. Okay. On roofs, you have a couple different types of roofs here in Florida. Technically, you got about, let's see, you got metal. Okay. Metal roofs are going to probably last the longest, but that does not mean that insurance won't flag them after 10 years. Okay. Insurance is still getting picky about roofs over 10 years old. So they're going to still want to see a 4-point and a wind mitigation on any roof that's over 10 years old, no matter what it's made out of. Metal will typically last the longest and is probably the best quality roof that you can get in the state of Florida due to the storms we have. Now, that being said, you have the slate tile or the Spanish tile, the terracotta roofs. Those are probably going to be your most expensive, okay? If you're showing a property with one of those roofs, you're talking probably in the ballpark of $60,000 or more to replace that roof, unless it's a very small house. And I mean like 1,500 square feet. If you're looking at a 2,500 square foot home or larger, good luck getting that roof replaced for under 60 grand. It's probably impossible. Does everybody know what a Spanish tile roof is or a slate tile roof? Does everybody understand that? Any questions surrounding that? D, you got your hand up?
Yeah, that Spanish roof, how long is the life expectancy on that with insurance? Like, would they still base that at 10 years?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So that roof should last you 30, 40, 50 years. In Florida, they've had so much storm damage and hail damage to those roofs, especially down south, that they're starting to nitpick those after about 10 years because it's very difficult to match the tiles. So what insurance is saying is if that roof, if we have a hailstorm and you get 100 tiles busted, we're not replacing that whole roof because you can't match those tiles to the old ones. That's not our problem. So those are getting a lot of pushback right now from insurance as well. So just because you have a Spanish tile roof that may last you 30, 40 years doesn't mean that insurance isn't going to nitpick that due to the circumstances that they've been running into.
Gotcha.
So The other type of roof is shingle. Right now, there's two different types of shingles. You've got your 3-tab shingles, which you don't see a whole lot of. If you don't know what a 3-tab shingle is, go on Google right now. Put in 3-tab shingle in Google. Look at the images. It's going to be a shingle roof that's just flat, right? There's no dimension to it. It's a flat roof. Now, I don't mean flat as far as the pitch is flat. It's still going to have a pitch to it. The shingle texture itself is flat. It just looks like little single tiles in a row, no dimension to it. The next shingle roof above that would be an architectural shingle roof. Okay. That's going to have a 3D dimension shape to it. It's like you took a 3-tab shingle roof and you took maybe 3 layers and add them on top of each other. So again, go into Google and put in architectural shingle roof so you can look at the difference between an architectural shingle and a 3-tab shingle. That way you can see the difference. In Florida, a 3-tab shingle is probably only going to last you 15 years. Okay. It's an inferior product to an architect shingle roof. You don't see a lot of them anymore. They're kind of becoming obsolete because an architect shingle roof, for an extra $500, you could put architect shingles on a roof and it's going to last almost double the amount of time. Right? So you're going to get another third of life out of the architect shingle over just a 3-tab shingle. Okay. So that would probably put you somewhere in the ballpark of that roof lasting you around 22 to 23 years in Florida with an architect shingle roof. Now, that all varies, right, on storms. We never know what's going to happen in Florida, right? In the summer, it could be sunny at 1 o'clock and a freaking hurricane outside at 2. So if you get a real bad storm that messes your shingles up, I'm not going to say that an architectural roof is always going to last you 22 to 23 years, but it very well could. A 3-tab roof to last you more than 15 in Florida is going to be just perfect conditions, no major storms, no major issues. More than likely, that roof's going to last you about 12 to 13 years, 15 if you're lucky. More than that, then you need to go play the lottery because it's probably your lucky day if you get more than 15 years of life out of 3-tab in Florida. Does anybody have any questions on those types of roofs and the lifespan on them?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Eric says here in Texas, we have 70-mile-an-hour winds at random. Yeah, so they get a lot of hail there too. So, you know, Texas, again, you might get a hailstorm that pops up in the afternoon and just obliterates your roof. That could be 6 years old and needs to be replaced. Again, we never know how long something's going to last. It's intended to last that long. And you may even have clients that push back and say, well, isn't an architect shingle, isn't that shingle a 50-year shingle? Well, yes, it's deemed a 50-year shingle, but that does not mean that it's going to last 50 years, right? Especially in the conditions that we have here in Florida. It's just not possible. So, roofs, major sticking point right now. I want you to always look and see how old that roof is. The best way to do that, if you have a competent listing agent, is to go on the listing, look at the top. There's a paper clip up there, kind of just to the left of where the showing time button would be on the MLS. Click on that paper clip. They should have all the disclosures attached if they're a good agent. If they're a crappy agent, they probably don't. So if you go up there and click on the paper clip, and there's a seller property disclosure, the age of the roof should be listed in there. Okay. Now, we can't always take that for granted because sellers don't always remember. They may say, oh, I think I replaced it 3 years ago, and maybe it's been 6 years, right? So you still don't know that that's a material fact, but that's what they think that it is. Okay. If you don't see the paperclip with any attachments, read the description, see if it's in the description. If it's not in there, go down to the realtor remarks at the bottom of the page, read the realtor remarks. Maybe it's in there, right? If you can't find it in any of those sections, more than likely that roof is going to be original. If it's a somewhat newer construction home, let's say 12 years or newer, if it's over 12 years old, then the roof was probably replaced at the last major storm or somewhere in between. But again, we don't know that, right? So that's something that you want to preface to your potential buyer. Like, hey, looking at this roof, it doesn't look like it's in bad shape, but I can't find any information on it as to how old it is. So obviously, if you like this house and we go under contract, we're going to have to definitely make sure that in the home inspection, we've got a good indication of how old this roof is and make sure they can find an active permit on it. Because if there's no permit, it doesn't exist, right? If the seller, him and his buddies got up there one weekend and drank a bunch of beer and ate a bunch of pizza and had a party, a roof party, and replaced the roof and didn't pull a permit, guess what? That roof never existed. So good luck getting insurance on it. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Because I've had it happen before. Literally, that scenario I just told you, I had a seller do that. And there was no permit. So guess what had to happen? They had to rip a brand new roof off and replace it because they couldn't get a permit. They weren't very happy, but that's what you get when you try to circumvent the system. Okay, so we've talked a lot about roofs. Next thing is water heater, right? If the water heater is inside the house, if it's more than 10 years old, it's going to need to be replaced. If it's in the house, insurance is going to flag it if it's over 10 years old in the house. If it's in the garage, a lot of insurance companies will give it 15 years if it's in the garage. But if it's over 15 years period, good luck getting it insured without replacing it. Even if it fully functions, insurance is a stickler. I think it's pretty stupid, but at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of control over the insurance companies. Anybody have any questions on the water heater?
I'm good.
Okay, one other thing to notate about a water heater. If there is not a pipe sticking out from the little check valve, which is on the side of the water heater, there's normally a little release valve there. If it is not piped to the ground about 6 inches off the ground, more than likely that's going to get flagged in any FHA or VA inspection. Because what they don't want to do is if that pressure valve goes off, water sprays all over the walls and the side of the house and could ruin a portion of the house. If it's piped down to the ground, it's going to spray onto the concrete in the garage and just flow out the driveway. If it's in the house, it's going to have to be in a pan or pipe outside of the house so that the water would flow outside of the house or in that drain pan. Any questions about that?
Okay, can you repeat that last part again? The drain pan? So I know it has the drain pan. It has to do what now?
If it's inside the house, it's going to have to sit in a drain pan or
Right.
and be piped to the drain pan, or it's going to have to be piped outside of the house so that if it were to if that pressure valve were to blow off and water starts spraying out all in your house, it's going to divert it down into the pan or out of the house so it doesn't flood the house.
Does that include if it's in the garage, it has to be piped out the garage?
It doesn't have to be piped out the garage. It just has to be
Okay.
piped to the ground
All right, I'm just checking. Okay, perfect.
because the garage is going to sit lower than the house.
Okay.
So insurance companies prefer the water heater to be either in the garage or an external water heater that's outside the house anyway. So that if it were to go off, that water is just going to drain right out of the garage down the driveway and not flood the house.
Ah, got it. Okay, perfect.
So these are things to look forward to on your inspections, especially if someone's going FHA or VA. You can automatically tell them, hey, you know, you're getting an FHA loan, they're going to flag this. So I just want you to be aware of that. It makes you look more knowledgeable and more trustworthy because you're pointing this out to the buyer on potential things that are going to pop up. These are good things to let them know about. Eric, you got your hand up? Can't hear you, bud.
Sorry, I say I've had PTSD over this pipe for how many times I've had to put one in or remediate one in the career that I've had. So it comes up a lot. They don't ever put it on.
I'll put it to you this way. It comes up so much that I have some of those screw-in attachments in my truck at all times.
I think I have 6 elbow PVCs in my truck as well.
Yeah.
And I've got, I think, an 8-foot PVC pipe in my garage at home ready to go.
Yeah, it's a $5 fix. It's nothing expensive, but they will flag it.
Yeah. Yeah, good to know on the listing side because you can remediate that without a GC too or a licensed professional. If you can just do it before you list it, get it done because it's a super easy fix. But no, I just say too for Texas agents who are on this too that water heaters are not as much of an issue for insurance out here. So just wanted to notate that. So that's strictly for Florida agents when it comes to insurance water heater.
Gotcha. I don't know how it is in Texas, Eric. How does it work with ACs there?
So most of our insurance is done after the fact. So yes, you bind insurance based on some basic information that they can pull, but usually they'll do an inspection of the house after. So it's super important, right? That still we have a fully functioning roof that doesn't need to be replaced. Because if you replace it during the option period when it truly needed to be, redone, then that's going to be put on your homeowner. And I'm sure they're not going to be very happy with a $4,000 bill to put on a new roof when you should have negotiated that on the front end. So how it works out here is they do the inspection typically within 30 to 60 days after they've closed on the home. Sometimes it's just a drive-by, or sometimes they do actually some insurance company come into the house and want to check the major systems, but still everything applies. You want to make sure everything's done on the front end and your option period for those major systems, because you definitely don't want to be in a situation where you can't get insurance on the home, which reverts to you not having a mortgage on the house because you're going to be in a really bad situation if you can't get insurance and you don't have money to replace a major system.
Yeah, and whose fault is that going to be?
Oh, it's always the agent's fault. Don't worry.
That's right. I want y'all to remember this, okay? We are the quarterback, right? The quarterback always gets the blame, win, lose, or draw, right? So whether it's an issue that's outside of our realm of controlling or not, we're still going to get the blame for it because that's unfortunately the way that our industry works, okay? So you got to have thick skin. Just let it roll off your back. It's not a big deal. As long as you CYA'd yourself, you're good to go. Okay. So in Florida, a lot of insurance companies look into AC units as well. Okay. That AC unit, if it's 10 years old or older, more than likely they may say something about it. Now, again, this sometimes is out of your control, right? The seller may say, well, it's functioning just fine, I'm not replacing it. Well, okay, we're just going to have to talk to our buyers and see what their thoughts are. But it's going to be hard to make someone fix an AC unit that's working perfectly fine, even though it's 10 years old. Okay. But insurance may or may not push back on it. I don't know. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, especially if it's using the out of date Freon. So that is something that gets pulled up in Texas after the fact. Is if that thing breaks, you're going to have to replace it. So if you don't have the updated AC unit with the Freon that they can't buy anymore, they can't get, that's going to be a major issue.
Yeah. So these are all things that are good to know when you're talking to your buyer. If you can't find the date of the AC unit or the water heater, you can pull up your Chat GPT, take the picture in your Chat GPT, and it will tell you everything about, if you take a picture of the placard, either the AC unit or the water heater, it will tell you everything you need to know about it. It will tell you the age, the manufacturer, everything. So if you don't know it, just take a picture with your Chat GPT and it'll give you all the info of the unit. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on how to do that?
No, I think I can do that.
Okay. So I know we've talked a lot about different things that might get flagged for insurance. Okay. I'm going to talk about some things that could get flagged for FHA or VA. Okay. Again, you might want to write this stuff down. On FHA and VA, they're going to be almost 100% the same on what they flag, with the exception to one thing. VA is going to flag termites, right? So on a VA loan, you have to get a termite inspection and show the paid invoice that it's been paid. And that has to be submitted to the VA, the inspection report and the paid invoice. Naomi, you got your hand up?
Yes. Does this count, or does this apply to Texas as well?
That is a nationwide
Okay.
mandate, because that is a VA mandate.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So on, oh, somebody put their hand up, or maybe not.
I misclicked. Sorry.
Oh, okay. This is a VA mandate. Any VA loan has to have a termite inspection sent into the VA. It has to show that it's not got any live termites. Now, a WDO inspection, which is what it's called, WDO stands for wood destroying organism. Wood destroying organisms aren't just termites, right? If they find wood rot in the fascia of the house, they're going to notate that. And it's going to get flagged when the FHA or VA appraiser comes in to inspect the home. They are going to notate any wood rot, both parties, FHA or VA. If they see any wood rot in the house at all, they're going to flag it. It's going to have to be fixed prior to closing. I would recommend that all of you have every one of your clients do a termite inspection, period. That would be Texas, Ohio, or Florida. In my opinion, it's always better to pay that little bit of extra money. You're probably talking anywhere from $75 to $150 to know if your home is clear and free of termites, because termites can do a lot of damage and cost a lot of money to your buyer. So I don't even give my buyers an option. I tell them that we're going to do a full home inspection as well as a termite inspection. Okay, so when we start having these conversations with our buyers, and I'll get into this a little bit more in a minute, but when I'm having these conversations, I don't give them options. I tell them what we're going to do, and they're going to have to tell me no, because I don't give them the option. And if they tell me no, I don't want to do that inspection, I reiterate, just to let you know, Eric, it is always a buyer's responsibility to do all inspections of the home. So if you want to waive that, again, that's your choice as the buyer, but I'm going to need you to sign this form stating that you're waiving your right to this inspection, okay? That is the process across the board. If anybody does not want to do a specific inspection, that is their choice, and they have the right to do that. But I'm going to make them sign a waiver form saying that they're waiving their right to that, so that 6 months later, if there's termites in the house and they come back and they say, well, Matt never told me to get a termite inspection. Ha ha ha. Buyers are liars, right? Nope, right here. See this little form you signed saying that you waived your right to a termite inspection after I told you you need to do one? Here you go, right here, right? CYA, because you are the licensed professional. When something goes wrong, a buyer is always going to try to point fingers at everyone around them. Does everybody understand that? Any questions around that? Okay. So getting back to VA FHA. Things that need to be functioning in the house, or things that they're going to flag. Number one, we already talked about it, wood rot, right? Any wood rot in or around the house, they're going to flag it. Holes in the walls, right? If there's a hole in the wall, even if it's a small hole, like let's say you threw the tennis ball for the dog and it put a small hole in the wall, they're going to flag that. If there's busted tile or busted flooring, or let's say someone ripped the carpet out and hasn't replaced it yet and it's raw concrete, they're going to flag that. If a cabinet door is hanging off or missing completely, they're going to flag that. If an outlet cover or a switch plate cover or any of those are missing, where there's raw wires exposed, sticking out of the ceiling, any of that's going to get flagged. Right? They want to see a fully finished home. You can't have baseboards missing and cabinet doors missing. Smoke detectors. Smoke detectors are a big one. If you're missing smoke detectors, they're going to flag it. Windows. If you have old jalousie windows that don't function, or you have windows that don't open at all, they're going to flag that. They look at that as a fire safety hazard. You have to be able to open the window and crawl out of the window if there is a fire. Okay? So if you got busted windows or windows that don't open or painted shut or whatever, good luck getting FHA or VA to sign off on that. Heat. I know in Texas, it can get cold. Florida, we don't really have this problem. Ohio gets real cold. You have to have functioning heat in the house. There has to be a heat source in the house, or you're not going to be able to get in VA or FHA to sign off on it. Oh, D, you got your hand up?
Yes, just to confirm, they're only required to have heat, not AC, correct?
That is technically the term, but in Florida, you have central heat and air. They're running off the same unit. So more than likely, if your AC is not working, your heater's probably not going to work either.
But if they have like a bunch of window units in the house and they're old, there's no central heat and air, it's not forced that they have AC, because I walked a house that had 6 window units and no central unit.
Correct. Now, those units need to produce heat, or they need to have a heat source in the house, like a fireplace, typically, or it's going to get flagged.
Okay, just checking.
Now, another thing that I know this sounds weird, but they're going to flag it. You don't have to have a refrigerator in the house, but you have to have a range, right? So maybe it's a new construction and they're not providing a fridge and it's FHA or VA. Well, they don't care about a fridge, but they dang sure care about a range. So if you don't have an oven like a stove in there, it's going to get flagged. You have to have one put in there. Now, with conventional, you're not going to get as nitpicky, right? Conventional isn't near as picky, but that appraiser could always flag something if it's at his or her discretion, right? I've had a conventional loan on an old abandoned house that they flagged some wires sticking out of the ceiling where a ceiling fan used to be, and the fan was no longer there. So they flagged it, and we had to cap those wires and just put a plate cover in the ceiling to cover those wires because they didn't want to see them sticking out of the ceiling. Now, again, that's to his or her discretion on the conventional appraiser. They may or may not flag that. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions surrounding what FHA and VA is going to flag?
I'm good.
Eric?
Hey, I want to notate dilapidated like sheds. Can you maybe go on that? Because I know that's something that comes up here and there too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so if it's an old ratty shed, a lot of times, since it's an outbuilding and not a livable structure, they're going to be okay with it 9 times out of 10. Now, you may get that guy or that girl that's an appraiser that's had a bad morning and they're pissed off at the world, and they may flag it and say that it has to be torn down prior to a closing. That could happen. I've had it happen before. But again, that's going to be at their discretion. Sharon, you got your hand up?
Yeah, Matt, it's not about the FHA or VA, but if a buyer is paying cash, going back to like a termite inspection and all that, would you still have them sign a waiver if they don't want to do that stuff?
I would, because even if they're paying cash, technically they don't even have to have insurance on the house, right? That's their choice.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
But again, it's always the buyer's responsibility, regardless of how they're purchasing their home. It's always their responsibility to inspect, because it is not the seller's responsibility to inspect the home. It is the buyer's. So if they are paying cash and they're like, look, we don't care, we're putting a renter in here, I don't care this or that or the other. Okay, hey, I get that you want to do your own inspections and this and that and the other, that's fine, but I still need you to sign this just in case something ever pops up, showing that you waived your right to have a professional inspection done on this home. It is a broker mandate. That's what you're going to tell them. Even though it's not, it's our team mandate, which it's hard line in the sand, because what's going to happen is, heaven forbid something go wrong, they're going to come back, they're going to blame you, because that's how they work. And then the broker, our broker, Bill Kilpatrick's going to say, well, is there any documentation stating otherwise? No. Well, here we are. We're liable now.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Well, and if they get an attorney involved, Matt, they usually go after every party attached and see who's going to pay the most money and who's going to, they want everybody to pay. So you just want to safeguard yourself.
Yeah, and when you show their attorney that little paper that they signed saying that they've waived their right to their inspections after you told them otherwise, that attorney's gonna be like, well, good luck suing this guy because he covered his butt.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. It's better safe than sorry, I promise you. Right? When you got to go stroke a check for $6,000 to replace an AC unit, it's not going to be a fun day for you. So that is pretty much the gist of insurability of the house, things to look for, and things that FHA and VA may flag. So discussing all that, now is going to get into how I show a house and things that I point out when I'm talking to my buyers, right? So the first thing I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to get there kind of early if I can, try to beat them there, get all the lights on, do a quick walkthrough so I can see the layout of the house. I'm going to meet them outside. I'm going to greet them energetically, like I'm happy to see them, right? And I'm going to talk about the roof outside before we even enter the house. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about that roof, right? So the discussion is very simple, just like we discussed earlier. I'm going to try to have that information pulled up for them so I can show them. Hey, Sharon, as you can see here, we've got an architect shingle roof here. It looks as though it was replaced 3 years ago. So the roof looks like it's in pretty good shape. Now, obviously, we're going to have to do a home inspection if you ever move forward on something to ensure the age of that roof. But as everything looks, seems to be fine. It's only 3 years old, right? Boom. That's the first thing I want to talk about outside. If there's something standing out outside that I want to talk about and point it out, like if you see a cracked window from outside the house, point it out, right? Hey, just to let you know, see this window over here? It does look like it's cracked. Obviously, we can always have the seller replace that prior to closing, but I just want to notate that you see that there, right? We're going to go inside the house. I'm going to let them start walking around. I'm going to look at every single ceiling in the house. If there's a fireplace in the house, I'm going to look around that fireplace ceiling, see if there's been any water intrusion, any staining, right? Super important. If you see staining, point it out. Hey, see this stain right here? Obviously, the roof is 3 years old, so more than likely this stain is probably an older one, but I just want you to notate that. So again, when we do a home inspection, we're going to have them focus on that area to make sure there's no water detected at the time of the inspection. If you see a cracked tile, point it out. Hey, see this cracked tile here? Just to let you know, that'll get flagged in an inspection. Nothing major. It's a cosmetic thing. A lot of Florida homes get cracked tiles because as the sandy soils we have here start settling, those tiles can crack as well. Same with outside the house, right? If you see stucco cracks. In Florida, we have very sandy soil. More than likely, that home is going to be on a monolithic slab. If you don't know what a monolithic slab is, Google it. But it is a free-floating concrete slab, right? So they pour that slab free-floating right on top of the sand. A lot of times in Florida, they're building new construction super fast. They might not give it the full time to cure before they put the concrete block walls up. So then you have settlement issues. That doesn't mean there's a sinkhole and that the house is going to fall to the oblivion and, completely fall apart. It's just those hairline cracks are going to happen due to the settlement. So, Eric, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna mention Texas. We have what's called post-tension slabs, which is reinforced steel cables that go through the slab because we have a lot more movement in Texas in foundation issues than you guys do in Florida. Same thing applies over time with weight and with time. Those houses settle and move, and same thing applies. You got to look at the roof, the ceilings, the doors. If the doors don't shut properly, most likely that's due to a foundation slip, right? So we want to make sure we notate that and have it inspected. So same thing applies, but just a little bit more in depth when it comes to foundation. Vertical cracks, step cracking is okay, but if you have vertical cracks going through the foundation and going straight through the brick and through the siding, most likely that's going to be a foundation issue. Make sure it's noted. A lot of them have foundation repairs on these houses out here. If it's notated in MLS, bring that to the knowledge of the buyer. And if it's not, let them know that that's something we have to address. That's all I got.
Yep. So in Florida, right, 9 times out of 10, if you see a crack, let's say there's a tile floor in the kitchen or whatever, and you see some hairline cracks, maybe in some of the tiles or maybe even following the grout joints, that's pretty common. Outside, the stucco may kind of follow in little hairline cracks, or if it's not stuccoed, it follows the joint of the concrete block, like little steps up the house. Those are pretty common. They can be fixed with elastomeric, which is a product that is like a caulk almost, or a silicone, right, that expands and contracts in the weather and seals those cracks. Now, if you can stick your finger in that crack, that is a major issue. There is what I would consider is a major settlement issue that you want to have looked at. That could be due to a potential sinkhole, right? You'd never know. In Florida, you can have sinkholes anywhere. But if it's a major crack that you could stick your finger in, that is something you want to be very aware of and notate to your buyer. I was in a house the other day that had one like that. And I told my buyer, I'm like, this is really bad, guys. Like, obviously, I don't see a sinkhole here, but there's some settlement issues going on. So I don't know what's going on, but sure enough, we looked it up, and it was a $46,000 quote that the seller got to fix those issues, right? I pointed it out to my buyer before we even knew. So the more things you can point out, the more trustworthy the buyer is going to have more trust in you, the more trustworthy you're going to look to them, and the more knowledgeable you look, right? So it's just going to make you look that much better. Again, I know I've said this before, we are salesmen, saleswomen, but we're really not. All we're doing is giving the facts of the home, right? The home is going to sell itself. When someone walks into a house, they know if it's the house for them or not. You're not going to sell them on anything. All you're doing is pointing out the pros and cons of that house for their needs, right? The house itself will sell itself. So the more information you can give, the more clarity you can give, the more transparency you can give, the more they're going to trust you and want to use you moving forward. Okay? I love going into a house that I can nitpick like that on the first showing, because again, it tells that buyer that I'm not there to push them on something, right? I'm there to give them true information and help them find what they're truly looking for. That is how I continue to have clients use me over other agents, even 5 years later, because they trust me 100%. Does everybody understand that? Does anybody have any questions surrounding any of that? Okay, so again, you are going to show that house the way that fits you. And that's how I want it to be. I want it to flow. I want it to be seamless. I don't want you to sound robotic or like you're trying to read from a script as you're showing them the house, or making it awkward, right? We don't want to make it awkward. We want it to be super friendly, getting them all the information they need, and we want to ask a lot of questions, right? This is where I truly get my questions answered. I don't ask them anything over the phone. I try to set the appointment on the phone, right? I do ask them a couple of valid questions about the house and what drew them to it. But when I get in front of them, that is when I want to start getting that conversation going and really finding out what they're trying to do and how I can best help them to get to it, right? So when I'm having these conversations, I might go through the whole tour, and then after the tour is done, I might stop in the kitchen, right? Central place of the house, it's a good place to stop typically and start having conversations. So Joe, tell me, how long are y'all Like, what's the time frame? How long have you been looking for a house? What does it look like for you on when you need to be in a house, right? Ask however you want to ask that, but try to just ask them on what their timeline looks like. Tell me about your current situation. Do you currently rent now or do you own? That's a pretty good question to know, right? Because if they own a home, you can help them list that home. And if you list the home and you're helping them buy a home, it's going to make that process more seamless and streamlined and less stressful for them, right? But you don't know if you don't ask. So tell me, is there anything in this home that you liked or disliked? Ask them straight up. Let them tell you. We're here to listen. All we want to know is things that they like about the home, their current situation, what their timeline looks like, if they have their kids with them. Oh, is this, how many kids do you have? Is this it? 1, 2, 3, what? What's their ages? What about schools, right? Like all of these things are important. I talk a lot about food. I'm a foodie, right? Like, hey, what kind of food do y'all like? You know, there's a great seafood restaurant right down the road, right? Or they say they like Mexican food. Hey, there's a great Mexican restaurant right around the corner. Barbecue, whatever it is. Like, I'm going to notate and tell them where those places are. Or, hey, there's a Publix 10 minutes right here or 5 minutes over there. You got Legoland over here. Or you got the chain of lakes, right? 25 lakes interconnected together with restaurants and bars and music and all kinds of cool stuff. All of the things that you know about your community, talk to them about that. Tell them about it, especially if they're not from here, right? Where are you from originally? That's a great question to ask, right? All of these things, it's just creating a flow so that you're having a constant conversation with them throughout the showing. And it's just clicking, right? You're building that rapport. If you don't talk at all and you just stand there and let them walk around and don't say a word to them, again, it's going to be very awkward. So just ask a bunch of open-ended questions that you can listen and have a good conversation piece with. Now, one thing that I want to do with them, again, at the end of the tour, typically it's in the kitchen, is explain to them the process, right? So Anna, just want to talk to you a little bit about the process here, okay? Essentially, if we find a home that you like, we would want to put an offer on that, but we can't do that until we have a pre-approval letter, okay? Have you had a chance to talk to a lender yet?
Whose name did you say?
Anna.
Hi, should I answer? No, I don't talk to lender yet.
Okay, hey, no worries.
No, same.
No worries at all, right? Like, I've got a great lender that you can talk to. He can actually get you pre-approved in less than an hour. So once we find the right home, you're ready to put an offer on it, we can get you pre-approved in less than an hour, no big deal at all. But I want to explain that process to you, okay?
Okay.
So obviously, we got to get you pre-approved when you're ready to put in an offer. Once we're ready to do that and we get that pre-approval back, that's going to really tell us what we're ready to shop for, okay? So at that point, we would do what's called a buyer-broker agreement. That is stating that I am representing you in this process, and then I'm going to help you get through this, okay? We would type up the offer together, put in all the terms and conditions of that offer, and I would go through that with you so you know exactly what you're signing. And once we get that executed and we have an actual valid contract, that's when I start going to work on the back end for you, right?
All right, that sounds good.
So I'm going to get all your inspections scheduled. We're going to do a full home inspection, as well as a 4-point, a wind mitigation, a termite, and this home is on a septic. So we're going to do a septic inspection and pump out as well. That way, you know, it checks out. Okay.
Okay.
if there's anything that comes back, right? I call them the major fives. Major fives are going to be roof, electrical, AC, plumbing, and termites. Right? I'm going to say those again. Maybe write them down for everybody. We're going to pause the role play here. Roof, electrical, plumbing, AC, termites. Major fives. If it's
And
a
if you're in
pool,
Texas, foundation.
what's that?
And if you're in Texas, foundation.
Yep.
That's a major.
In Texas, you got foundation. If there's a pool, that would be another. Now you got 6. In Texas, you may have 7, right? So roof, electrical, AC, plumbing, termites. If there's a pool as well. If you're in Texas, foundation. Ohio, I don't know what else you may have up there. But if any of those come back bad on the inspection report, that's a major item, we are going to make the seller fix those, right? We're not going to purchase a home and have to put a $20,000 roof on it, right? We're going to push back on the seller. That's a seller responsibility. If the seller doesn't want to do it, then that's your choice at that time. But I would highly recommend we find another home because we are still in a very solid buyer's market. So we have plenty of options that we can go to. Right? So I'm explaining this process to them. Now, granted, they're not going to remember half of this crap that we talked about, but I'm still doing it at the initial consultation, right? That way, when they're ready to put an offer on something, I can go back and revert to the conversation we already had. Hey, Anna, remember last week when we talked in that first house over on 123 Main Street, and I told you the process of how we're going to go through this? This is what we're ready to do now. So again, I'm going to explain this to you just to make sure that you fully are aware of what we're getting into, but I'm going to revert back to everything we talked about last week, okay?
Okay.
So again, it's just having those checkpoints. The more times you can explain it and have documentation of it, the more you CYA. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay.
No, I'm good.
I know that was a lot of information, but that's why I like y'all to stay on this 102 call every other week so that we can go in more depth to these things. Next time we get on here in 2 weeks, we're going to go more in depth on inspections again, on different types of inspections. So this way, every 2 weeks, you're building more on your knowledge. I would still recommend you to do your own product knowledge on different types of things that you may come into contact with. But again, the more you know, the better off you're going to be. But that's all I got for y'all today. Any final questions or concerns that anybody has? All right. Well, I'm going to cut y'all loose. If you need anything, let me know. And y'all make it a great week.
Thank you.
See ya.